Okay. All right, good morning. Today is April 23rd, 2022, and we'll learn something new. Well, we don't want to learn anything new, but just because you're here, Jyoti, we'll at least start with something that will lay our foundation for the next sessions that we'll have next week. Okay. And then we'll not do a lot more. We'll just revise and we'll see what Mansa has to talk about, and we'll see if we're able to solve her problem. Okay. What I'm trying to do is build a project, okay, a dummy project for sure, but it should give us a clarity as how to use a binary model, okay, and I'll explain to you what a binary model is. So the whole idea that I'm trying to get to is to have one project which we will call as Lotus Ops -framework. Okay. And then we will have another one, which we will call as Lotus Ops -service. Maybe just service for now. That should be good enough, I believe. And then we can grow that into more complex. And then we will create Lotus Ops UI gateway. Okay, so we are talking about 3 Maven projects, very simple projects. Let's not complicate it with multi-modules or whatever, because you've already seen it, and then later we can grow it up into multi-module. The whole idea is framework. There are some classes in framework which are being used by Lotus Ops. Okay, so this is just a jar. This will be again a jar because we'll use Spring Boot. Okay, and then this will also be a jar, right? And the UI gateway uses something from Lotus Ops services and uses something from framework. This is how we are. This is how a hierarchy is going to be. Okay. The whole idea is, well, you know what? Let's do one thing. Let's lower the complexity. Let's take these guys out, just so that we understand the concept. All right. So we just have 2 projects to deal with. This project is one jar. This project is another jar. Okay. But the way we are trying to increase the complexity is we want for every single implementation. So if there's a client, let's say apple, oranges, peaches. Okay, there are 3 clients that we have. And each of the client, you want to have their own code base. Okay. And the intent is we do not want to duplicate the code. We do not want to duplicate the code. What it means is you are an expert on Git now. So what you'll tell me is you have a main branch. There is some code on this. You'd say, hey, let's create a branch for apples. Let's create another branch after a few months for oranges. And then let's create another branch for peaches, right? And then you would just treat this as your holy grail, which is software, your primary software, which is called golden software, let's say, for example. And you'll continue to do enhancement for the clients over here. Okay, but look at it. It's not a SaaS solution, right? What I mean by, have I talked about SaaS solution before?
Samir. No.
I haven't. Okay, let's quickly talk about that, and then we will come over here. So I will write, just so that I remember here, I will write it SAS over here. When we go to cloud, right? Cloud could be different things for different people. Okay, cloud could be just servers. Cloud could be a software, so server plus software. Okay, and I'll call it as platform software. Okay, and I'll tell you what platform software is if you do not know, so don't worry about that. For me, it could also be software as a service. Okay, I'm coming to what each one of those means. So when you talk about server, what really comes to your mind? I think what should come to your mind is CPU, memory, and hard drive, right?
Yes.
Technically, I mean, there would be networking and all of those other components, but to keep it simple, you're at least thinking about CPU, memory, and hard drive. When I talk about, and this is where you think about it as the real servers, right? In AWS, you go and spin up a EC2 instance. That's a server for you, a virtual server. It has CPU, it has memory, it has hard drive, right? So that, if you're just doing that in cloud, that particular pattern is called infrastructure as a service. So if you ever hear IaaS, that's what it is. You're just taking infrastructure from cloud vendor and you're doing everything on top of it. What I mean by everything is what we're going to look over here. So if you take infrastructure as a service, you just take servers from them. What you have to do is you have to install platform software. What do I mean by platform software? Just to give you an example, there could be many. One could be Tomcat, or it could be JBoss, or it could be Nginx, and so on and so on and so on. This is not your software, right? This is not what you're developing. You're going to put your software in it. You're going to develop a software and put it in it. So that's why it is called platform software. Okay, this might be my term, but I'm just trying to simplify it for you. Once you install the platform, what you'll really install, and again, you'll also have operating system on your on your infrastructure, and then you'll put your platform on it. And after the platform is installed, you're going to build your software and put it on the platform. And that's how all the rest of the thing that we talked about, Route 53, the load balancers and everything. So Route 53 is infrastructure as a service. Your load balancer is infrastructure as a service. Your target group is infrastructure as a service. Okay, there's a very thin line between that, but just to keep it simple, I would still call it as infrastructure as a service. I would not call it as a platform. Okay, are things clear so far?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so that's why when we talk about platform over here, server plus platform, it becomes a PaaS. And tell me what that full form is going to be. What is
platform
PaaS?
Platform as a service.
Exactly. So that's platform as a service. So what the cloud vendor will tell you is, I will give you a server and I'll also install Tomcat on it. Tomcat as a service. You don't have to come install it. You don't have to upgrade it. You don't have to back up. You don't have to do any of those things. I will take care of the platform. Okay, so that's what is platform as a service. Then they will come with solutions like Office 365 or OneDrive or Google Drive. All of this, we don't do anything, right? We directly go and use the services. If I go to Google Drive, I directly take my videos and I put it up on there, and it's available for you to access it. I'm able to do user management, so on and so forth. So what are they giving? They're telling me, I will give you server, I will give you platform, and I'll also give you software. You just have to use it. Create your user and start using it. So what will this be called? Any guesses?
SaaS. SaaS.
SaaS, software as a service. Okay. So this should be pretty much it. I don't want to go deep into it now, and then I'll connect the dots. If you any questions over here before I wrap it out?
I'm good, Samir.
Okay, good. Let's get rid of this. All right. Let's go back here. So I stopped here as software as a service. What I mean by software as a service is if we are providing software as a service to our customers, okay? So the paradigm is a little different. It is not SaaS provided by the cloud vendor. We have our instance. We put, I mean, when I say instance, I meant AWS account. We put our EC2 instance in it. We install the platform inside it, and then we install the software inside it, right? And our customers who are sitting over here are directly accessing our applications, right? If we are the ones hosting it, I would call it as a SaaS solution that we provide. There could be another model, right? Where we build the software and each of our client has their own infrastructure. And what we do is we build everything and we give it to them, they deploy it over here. Then we give it to these guys, they deploy it over here. Then we give it to these guys, they deploy it over here. So each one of them has their own instances running and their own code bases running inside there. You get the difference between this model where we manage everything and this model where they manage everything. The only thing that we give them is the software that we built. By the way, Jyoti, the things that you guys work on is this model. Mostly in the one-to-one world. In the one-to-many world, it's this mode. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? No. So why did I talk about SaaS model? Why did I talk about this model and this model? If you're going to go with this model, your life is very easy. You can keep creating branches and eventually merge everything over here and then deliver this code base to these guys. But that is not as simple as over here. Now, what happens is when you're delivering this kind of a model, each customer has their own line of business, own release management, own versioning, so on and so forth. So you develop some features for Apple's, you might never want to bring that to your core. So if I call this as core, Apple's code, you never want to bring it here, but there are something that you develop that you want it over here. Same way for others. So it becomes very, very difficult to manage all of this with a single line of code. Okay, I would personally prefer to have a single line of code, and I would prefer to have business analysts working with the clients and making sure that they are trying to help the clients build products that are in line with the vision of core. They never bring in something that only Apple needs. And even if only Apple needs, you design it in such a way that your core will never use it. Probably a separate adapter or something like that, a separate code base. In the same code base, a separate adapter which will be injected dynamically using configuration. That's the model I would love systems to go in, but systems are not there at the moment. Okay, and without naming the organizations, I'm trying to give you hints, just understand it. Okay. So since the systems are not here, since the business analysts are not working with the companies to align them with the vision of the core, and they let the systems do whatever customizations they want to do, irrespective whether it's a vision of core or not, we get into a situation where you have a release management for core, and then you have a code base for apples, and then you have a code base for oranges, and you have a code base for pages. Okay, so now what happens is it's technically the same code. Let's say 70% of the code is core plus 30% is customization. 80% is core plus 20% is customization. 99% is core plus 1% is customization. But what it means to you is this code is being repeated across repositories. Agree on this point?
Yes.
Okay, so binary model is to avoid it. So now think about it for a moment. If somebody tells you, I want separate repositories, but I don't want to repeat this, everything that's common should come from core. All of this should be done in core, and these guys should just use it. For a moment, take a pause, think, how would you really do that? And then we'll come to solutioning. Anybody who can think, just throw ideas with all the fundamentals that you've learned so far, right?
Using common libraries.
You'll use common libraries, and all of them will refer to those common libraries. Okay, good. What else? But then let me add one more caveat to it, right? 70% is common, but those 30% that you want to modify are dependent on those common. So your common should be segregated into fine-grained libraries. Let's say in a kitchen sink, there are fine-grained libraries up there. Then it becomes easier to just assemble what you want to assemble, right? But if it's a coarse grain, if it's one big chunk of library, it becomes a lot difficult to break it down. What we have today is coarse grained library. So I'm increasing the level of complexity for you now. So you have two options. One is the coarse grained libraries, break it up into smaller libraries so that you can assemble them better into your clients. And you only write code using these libraries which are there, right? So that's a good attempt. Who else wants to make a attempt? Anybody? No? Okay. Let's talk a little bit. The solution that framework, and then you have this JFrog over here. You want to take the framework code and you put it over here. So what you have over here is jar, correct? Then you have your service. You do the same thing. You put it over here, and what you have is svc.jar, correct? There are two jars now. Now you want to write a Apple specific service. You'll bring this jar in. This jar has 100% of the code. Now from that jar, you want to actually change 30% of the code. How are you going to do it? That's where I meant that coarse grained service, right? It's one big, it's everything or nothing. So if you, I don't know how familiar you are with Java, but if you have a class called A and you have a class called B, A.class and B.class, because they're compiled. And now I want to change some functionality in B.class. There is a way for us to do it by extending B into B extended, let's say. Okay, but no matter how easy it looks to talk about it, when you talk about ton of classes, this model becomes a little difficult to implement. Okay, again, I would love to go this way, but unfortunately we didn't go this way because not all the developers that we have in the team would understand the whole big picture of how to do it. So we wanted to keep it simple. So what we did is, okay, and I need extreme attention now because what we're going to talk about is a little complex topic. What we did is we used something called as Maven sources plugin. And then I will show you here. Source plugin. Let's see the use case. This one. So what this plugin allows us to do, let me capture this out in. Why am I doing that? Okay, I'm going to put this up in your videos later. So we use the Maven source plugin. What the Maven source plugin does is, as part of your building of Maven project, it doesn't only put the jar files there, it also puts sources.jar. Okay, what is the difference between a jar file and a sources.jar? The difference is a jar file has compiled classes in it. In terms of Java, it will be .class file. And this guy has source. So in terms of Java, it will be a .java file. Clear so far?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Good.
Very clear.
All right, let's move on to a little more complexity. And even if it's not clear, have the basics in your mind, because when we implement it, you'll get to know. So we are using source plugin to export source. That's the first part of the puzzle. And remember one thing, right? You don't have to be a programmer to be thinking all this. Many a times the problems that you'll get in your practical world is a big chunk of work, right? As I always say, break it down into smaller chunk of work and think from your mind what all can be done to achieve this big chunk of work. Okay, that's exactly what we're trying to do. The problem statement we know. We do not want to duplicate the code. Now we are trying to get to how do we not do it? So the first approach that we're trying to do is let's expose the source in here. Okay, when we expose the source in here, I would want to have a way to have my Apple source code to use this source, bring it in and compile the source, and then add additional custom Java files. Okay, I will remove this guy for a second. Download only files from core that you need. So this is very important here. Only. Okay, because you don't want to bring in the whole source, because if you bring in the whole source, it's almost like bringing in the whole jar and writing extension on top of it. So this only is very important. You'll pick and choose what you really want from there, and everything that you want to customize, you'll add it as additional custom files. And once this is done, then you will compile the code as if you will compile with the files being manually added over here, right? You'll compile it, produce the jar file, and now you're ready to deploy, because now the only thing that is there in your repository is the additional files. This 70% of the code is not duplicated. It is brought from core. Are you still with me so far, or am I putting you to sleep?
Clear, Samir, but I have a question.
Go ahead. If you have a question, you should ask.
So in order to solve do not repeat code problem,
Mhm.
but we have come up with a solution where we are, instead of exporting the jar file, we are exporting the source code to JFrog.
You mean
right?
exporting or importing?
Pushing to JFrog, making it available.
Pushing.
instead-
Yeah, that's
yeah,
called pushing or
pushing.
deploying.
Yeah,
So
yes,
we always will deploy jar. So it is not or, it is and. You don't get away with not deploying this, because whatever you've produced, core will also want to deploy it somewhere, right?
Mhm.
You cannot deploy your sources to anywhere of core. So core will still need the jar files. We are deploying this source file so that the implementation could pick it up from there and not repeat itself.
Yeah, but this requires the project to be an open source code, right? What if I don't want to make it?
Why
Okay.
open source?
You're pushing the source here, right? To JFrog?
Yeah,
Did I
but
get that right?
this is in the organization, right? This is not opened to the whole world. All of our repositories are private repositories right now, even if it's in GitHub. So you cannot call it open source. Open source is what is open to the whole world.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else has any questions? Everybody understood? Oh, okay, good. Maybe I explain it better. Let me clear this off, and now let's connect the.
Oh, and one more question, Samir.
Please go
So you gave an example of Apple, Orange, and different clients, right?
Mhm.
So you are bringing in only, let's say Apple wants just AB class, you're bringing in only AB class, and Orange wants maybe B and C, you're
Mhm.
bringing B and C, but there's
Yes.
still a duplicacy of B, right? B is getting repeated with both clients.
Why? There's A, B, and C, let's say.
Mhm.
And this guy wants all ABC. It doesn't want to write any duplication of code. It will bring everything as is.
Right.
It has an option to bring in. I mean, we follow the. I would like to call it as an assembly model rather than binary model, but that's how people call it, binary model. B, so let's call it as X, Y, Z for simplicity. Y needs only A and B, and it wants to customize the C. So, okay. So it will only write a file called C and used AB from the core. B wants A and wants to customize B and C. So how is there a duplication is my question. This C, let me, just to make it a little clearer. There is B and C. So this B is not equals to this B.
Correct.
Because this is not customization. This is coming from core. This is coming from core, but this is customized. This C is not equals to this C. This C is not equals to this C. It means this C is not equals to this C. I'm teaching maths here. So how is it duplicated is my question.
Duplicate in the sense you're still bringing in copy of a code.
We
Like-
are bringing in the copy, but we are not storing it in GitHub. We
I
are
see.
bringing in from the core.
Okay.
So here AB is not there. If you go to Y's repository, you will not see AB. You'll only see C. If you go to Z's repository, you'll only see B and C. You'll not see A. If you go to X repository, you'll not see at all anything. You'll just see a POM file. So it is not a duplication, right?
Yes.
Still doubt?
What is it, Sam?
Do you still have a doubt?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay. Saujanya, Jyoti, and Mansa, I mean, I want you to ask questions or confirm that you understand.
Clear, Samir.
I'm good, Samir. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. There's another piece of problem, right? We could always say we want to bring ABC, AB, and A from GitHub directly. Why can't we just go to GitHub and bring it from there? Why do we have to go to JFrog and bring it from there? The reason we have to do it this way is because in JFrog, we have versioned source. So if you have a 1.0.0 hyphen A, if this guy wants 1.0.0 hyphen A, but then these guys have moved forward to 10.0.0 hyphen A, this guy can still be on 1.0.0 hyphen A code base, and this both can be on 10.0.0 hyphen A. So it becomes a lot easier for each one of them to manage their releases. They don't have to always move forward with the way code is moving forward, right? So it becomes a lot more easier for each of this implementation to go upgrade whenever they are ready to upgrade. Okay, so when we were proposing this solution, there's a lot of thought process that has to put in there. The solution just doesn't come out of magic, right? There are a lot of requirements around the solution, around the problem, and then you solution the problem. So if you are clear with this, I think we are good to start rolling. Any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir. Yeah, clear.
All right. All right. Do you think I should just stop recording over here so that you have this session available for like 10 minutes and you don't have to go through the 2 hours session? And then we'll start recording again.
Sure, that works.
Okay, so let's